Let's talk about the growth that we are seeing at this particular juncture. Consumer-to-consumer transactions do speak of the economic participation of customers and the South African public that's been described for an elongated time as cash-strapped.
Yes, thank you very much and good morning. I think to start off with, we were very excited to see the rebound in consumer activity over the last financial year. I think this was strongly highlighted by a 15% growth in the value transmitted through our e-wallet sends and also a 10% growth in volume of activity. To put this into perspective, that value that I mentioned growing 15% translates into 40 billion rand in value being transmitted, and from a volume perspective, just over 65 million rand. And that then going to 7.9 million e-wallets. So that really talks to the scale of the product and how it's driven by consumer activity over the last financial year. So
quite interesting because it paints a slightly different picture from what we know as a cash-strapped or a financially distressed consumer. And I think I would like us to delve into the realm of what consumers are spending on that then speaks to the activity that we are seeing at a financial level.
So I think the first point we just need to speak to, and we can explore the question a little bit more, is that first piece you mentioned, cash-strapped. The average value of the payments we're seeing via the solution is around 600 rand. So I think that talks to your cash-strapped portion of the question, to say it is typically people that receive payments in lower value. So to your question about the reason and the activity behind it, I think there's a myriad of reasons. The e-wallet typically started as something that goes to family members. It started being a payment mechanism for services as well, but it is typically for this low-value payment mechanism. And then also the nature of the product makes it typically appeal to people who are not traditionally banked, who cannot afford entering, despite there being lower-cost solutions, who trust the value and the brand of the e-wallet. So it's those people that traditionally don't go into the banking ecosystem, and they still reside typically in cash economies, and therefore they use this solution and it remains so popular.
Is it sustainable, though, Elmar, given that we are not in a dispensation where a magic wand is going to work and tomorrow we'll wake up with bigger salaries and the cash transactions that we are seeing are diminishing over the months that we have seen with high interest rates as well as food costs going up, petrol prices are still not abating?
So I think it's a valid question. Possibly many different answers and opinions on that. But I think considering my role, the best way I can answer it is to talk to the solutions that we offer and how we're trying to help this customer. Because to your point, how sustainable is it that we know cash costs are increasing, customers are becoming more strained? And to your question about the customer experience in this, or how the customer is benefiting from all this, is we have provided from an FNB perspective an alternative solution on top of the e-wallet solution called Easy Zero. Now, as I mentioned earlier, customers typically don't come into the traditional banking ecosystem. This solution we've made available for them to then come into traditional banking, and customers can actually bank for free on this. And also the solution gives them the opportunity to take up a traditional bank account, reduce that cash dependency, and possibly earn income from different sources, all while taking up a purely digital bank account which doesn't require any documents. So to your point around the customer, that's one of the many ways we're trying to help to give the customers more sustainable ways of banking without incurring additional cost at these tough times.
It's intriguing because then the banking system essentially, Elmar, then has to be tailor-made to what is needed by the South African consumer at this particular dispensation. How much of the product offerings are aligned to what it is that is needed?
No, I think that's an excellent point, and I think something that we like to pride ourselves in, because to your point, in the South African population, we've got, due to economic reasons and very different reasons, we've got customers in different circumstances. So I think from a FNB perspective, especially on the lower income side, we've really tried to meet the customers in their circumstances with tailored solutions to meet their needs. Just to do these two solutions that I've mentioned now for the customer that isn't comfortable with traditional banking, we've got the e-wallet solution, and for a customer who wants a card, who wants something a bit more in the form of traditional banking, we've got the Easy Zero solution where it's possible to bank at almost no cost. So I think it's almost a responsibility from our side to take into considerations the different scenarios or situations of customers and try and tailor our solutions to meet them, not just with their needs, but also where these customers are.
Elmar Gräter from FNB, thank you so much for your insights on this particular issue, talking about how consumers are navigating the current tough economic times.